I'm a physicist, and therefore I study how physical reality works, and with a sense that that's all there is, and that's really pretty much what science today is telling us about the reality. And I had accepted that that must be true, and I was also expecting that if I did everything right, quote unquote, whatever that means, I should be happy. And that did not turn out that way. In fact, I did everything right, according to the book, but I was not happy, and I was pretending to be happy. And it was only because I realized that I was pretending to be happy, and I have learned, being an entrepreneur, I had learned to take responsibility for what happened in my life, that I put my foot down and said, no, I must understand why I'm not happy. In those days, I was studying consciousness, but I was working on neural networks. I was studying books in neuroscience, and I wanted to understand how come that we are conscious. The neuroscientists don't tell us how we're conscious. They explain, they explain how we work by electrical signals and biochemical signals in the brain. And I didn't see how I could possibly get sensations and feelings, what philosophers call qualia, out of electrical signals. And so I was really curious. Being a scientist and being also a technologist, I wanted to understand how I could program a computer to be conscious. And the more I thought, the more impossible it was, because there is nothing in physics that tells you how to convert electrical signals or bits in a computer into sensations and feelings. So the core was, what are sensations and feelings, which is how we experience life. And so it was in this climate where I was unhappy, which is also a problem of consciousness. I wanted to understand what consciousness is. And it happened one night, 1990, was Christmas holidays. Was skiing up in the Sierras, Tahoe, with my family. And one night I wake up midnight, was thirsty, went to get a glass of water. Then I went back to bed, just waiting to fall asleep again. And all of a sudden, out of my chest, this beam of energy, white scintillating light, is love. But is a love that it was 10,000 times, 50,000 times, who knows, stronger than anything that I've ever experienced, is coming from me. And my consciousness is in this rush of energy. And is love, joy, and peace. Peace, I've never had felt that peace. I was always trying to get somewhere. I was never happy where I was. But this is me. That's home. This is me. I am that. Actually, I am this. Instead of that, this that comes out of me. And then this energy, all of a sudden is everywhere. And this white scintillating light, my consciousness is in that light. And so now I am observing myself. So I'm the observer of myself. This energy, because this love was there, this joy and this peace was there as well. And then a thought forms. Wow, a thought. But I already got what the thought was trying to say. The thought was, oh, this stuff is what everything is made of. But these are symbols. What before that thought, there was the understanding that the thought expressed. And then that was the end of it. My body was vibrating, like the cells of my body were resonating with what was going on. So body, mind, emotions, and the connection with everything was all in this holistic experience. So I was one observing itself with my point of view. That's what I'm saying now. But at that time, I had exactly the sense without the words to say what I just said. The essence of what I am, what I thought that I am, changed from this way to that way. So before I thought I was separate from everything, from the universe. I thought that to prove something, you had to show a theorem and go through the logical proof of a theorem, that was the highest certainty that you could have is by demonstrating a theorem. That knowing that came, I was asking what is consciousness, I realized much later that asking was a prayer. I didn't know that I was praying, but I wanted to know. I have taken responsibility for myself and I wanted to know. I got the answer. That answer was so unbelievably impossible to imagine to me that, once you have this thing, you know that it must be true that way. This is direct experience of who you are. How more do you need? But of course, it doesn't give you a formula. It's not a number or a series of numbers. It's how we really know, how consciousness knows. And so that was for me, wow. My rational mind would probably, if it wasn't so powerful as an experience, I would have said, well, I need to see a psychiatrist now. If I was really believing the story that I was believing before, I would have probably said, I need to see a psychiatrist because something like this is crazy.
But that's the interesting shift, is that we go from needing to intellectually rationalize things to having the immediacy of the experience, which is self-evident.
Yeah.
It's like So there's that gnosis, the intelligence of the body that knows, that I feel like in the Western mind, we've really lost being in touch with.
Of course. And that's the fundamental difference between the rational mind that wants to arrive at the truth. But you never arrive at the truth if you start with truth that are assumed to be true, which is the postulates that you start with. So it's foolish to believe that you can get to the truth if you start with truth that you cannot demonstrate. So, but our consciousness is the truth engine, is the one that can tell you whether it's true or not. But it doesn't give you the proof. And then you have to know also how to read your experiences. So it took a number of years of studying, but studying consciousness. How? By experiencing myself. That's the only way that you know consciousness. You don't read it. Books don't tell you what consciousness is on top of it. So I went through 20 years of personal work, starting with meditation, on and on and on. Teachers came and went, in this process. And it took about 20 years, so that takes us to about 2008 or so, 2009, when it was clear to me that consciousness must be fundamental. Consciousness and free will, because to me, free will and consciousness were parts and parcel of the same thing. So that was so clear that at that point, I wanted then to connect what I knew about physics into a theory that would connect the interiority and the exteriority. Physics only describes what you can measure in the space and time. But what you can feel, is that in space and time? Cannot possibly be in space and time. So where is it? And so that was the journey where I dedicated myself 100%. I decided that's it. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Unite physics and spirituality into a seamless whole where you can no longer tell the boundaries between one and the other.